for Black Cow. Ha ho, yeah. So do I have to invite Paul every time? I don't have to invite you, Laurel, every time. Why do I have to invite him? You're not listening to me. Are you listening to me?
Hi, Karen.
Hi, Karen. Hi, Derek. Laurel, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yep.
So why do I have to send Paul an invite every time? I don't have to send you an invite every time.
Has nobody showed him how to get to like the main room, like the meeting room where we can go into the maybe, I guess? Have we only ever invited him using a link?
Yeah, I think so. You know, it is so important to be able to strike while the iron is hot. And when it comes to the world of politics, striking while the iron is hot is incredibly important. And frankly, I think Barack Obama is a shining example of that. Barack Obama, and frankly, so is Donald Trump. Nobody in a million years would have predicted that somebody, even by the name of Barack Obama, would get elected president. But that a freshman senator could become the president of the United States. He was just the right guy at the right place at the right time, and everybody was mad at George Bush, and everybody thought, all right, well, Barack Obama is the anti-George Bush. And no doubt the same about Donald Trump and Joe Biden. That for a lot of people, they voted for Joe Biden because he's not Donald Trump. He is the anti-Donald Trump. But for Joe Biden, it's hard to believe. But he was just he struck while the iron was hot, which again takes my breath away. That Joe Biden got elected president just because of his feebleness, just because of his mental decline, not because of his politics. Politics are what they are, but because of his mental decline, I just was stunned that he got elected. But striking while the iron is hot is incredibly important. And I have to wonder if Ron DeSantis has missed the opportunity by waiting so long to jump into the political campaign. That is what we're going to be talking about here in the next 20 minutes or so. If you want to join us at 844-580-WDBO, it's 844-580-9326. You can use the open mic feature inside the WDBO app and make your comments known there as well. Any good politician knows when their moment is when it is their moment, when it's their opportunity to seize that moment, to seize that opportunity. And it just seems like the door is swinging closed for DeSantis. He's dropping further in the polls to Donald Trump, of course. And evidently on the retail politics side, Ron DeSantis is not a big fan of retail politics. What is retail politics? That is the ability to woo a crowd, to shake hands and kiss babies, and to get out and to work a crowd and to work donors and to make those phone calls, to make phone call after phone call after phone call. That's retail politics. And evidently Ron DeSantis either doesn't like it or isn't good at it. Either way, he doesn't do it, evidently. And so some of the major donors are starting to fall out of Ron DeSantis. Now, I saw a headline in the Washington Examiner. Trump expands his lead and is poised for an electoral landslide. And the more that Donald Trump goes up in the polls, the more Ron DeSantis goes down. And there was a point at which, back in March, where Donald Trump was at 43% and Ron DeSantis was at 31%. Ron DeSantis has steadily gone from 31% support to 26% to 23%, now down to 16% support. Whereas Donald Trump has gone from 43 to 42 to 46 to 52% support. Do you think that Ron DeSantis has potentially missed his window of opportunity here? I know that the governor wanted to wait until the state legislative session had ended, and he wanted to make sure that the state legislature clarified the rules here in Florida about whether or not you have to give up your elected seat to run for another office. It is believed by most legal experts in Florida that the state constitution and state laws already allow for Ron DeSantis to run for president without giving up his governor's position here in Florida. But DeSantis wanted to wait to get through the legislative session first. He wanted to focus on Florida first, even though he has not been in the state for most of the legislative session. He has been out not only touring the United States, but he has been touring the world and meeting with world leaders, everywhere rather. So at this point, Donald Trump, breathtakingly, and Donald Trump announced this week that he is going to be doing a town hall on CNN. You might recall, gosh, it doesn't seem like it was that long ago when Donald Trump talked about how CNN was fake media, how all of these channels are fake media, these newspapers are fake media, fake news, fake news, fake news. And suddenly now, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And suddenly now Donald Trump seems to be embracing CNN, embracing the mainstream media, because as the mainstream media goes after Ron DeSantis, Donald Trump doubles down on it. He will be the first to cite those news outlets as being accurate about Ron DeSantis. The same news organizations that he cited as fake news previously, he is now getting behind them and supporting them. So do you think that it is too late for Ron DeSantis to jump into the race? I don't think it's too late, but I think he has done a lot of damage to himself by waiting as long as he has. As a lot of the donors have been ready to write big checks, but if Ron DeSantis doesn't declare, he doesn't get into the race, these donors are either going to take their money elsewhere or they're just going to sit on their money and they're not going to make a donation at all. I much, much, much prefer the idea that Ron DeSantis could be our next president over Joe Biden or Donald Trump. I would rather see Ron DeSantis in the White House. Honestly, at this point, anybody but Joe Biden, and my next anybody but would be anybody but Donald Trump. But if it comes down to Donald Trump winning the GOP primary and beating Ron DeSantis and beating any other latecomers, then I would imagine I will be in a situation where I pinch my nose and vote for a third time for Donald John Trump. What do you guys think? 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. You can use the open mic in the WDBO app and let me know what your thoughts are about whether or not Donald Trump is at this point a foregone conclusion that he is going to win the GOP primary, or if you think that Ron DeSantis still has an opportunity here. Now, the most bizarre poll that I have seen so far is a CBS News poll that deals with Donald Trump and Trump fatigue and the typical Republican voters. In fact, these aren't the typical. There are actual categories when it comes to polling. So these aren't typical Republican voters. They are likely Republican voters. So these are people who are likely to vote Republican. They are likely to vote in the election. They generally have a history of voting in the election. So they asked these questions. It was a CBS News YouGov poll, 2024 Republican nomination. Top answers, if you prefer a candidate who, the top answer if for GOP voters, you prefer a candidate who, top answer, challenges woke ideas. What? Challenging woke ideas is your number one priority in a presidential candidate? The next highest is opposes any gun restrictions. Followed by, get this, the 2024 Republican nomination, Republicans prefer a candidate who says Trump won in 2020. How is that even relevant? But that's 61% of Republicans are saying they want a candidate who says Trump won in 2020. First of all, Trump didn't win in 2020. And what difference does it make other than making you look like a fool if you say that Donald Trump did win in 2020? He didn't. And the last of the top responses here again. 2024 Republican presidential nomination, prefer a candidate who makes liberals angry. That's 57% of Republicans say they want a candidate who makes liberals angry. Why? Why in the world is that a priority? Why do you feel the need to make liberals angry? Now, if in the course of business liberals get angry, so be it. There will be political disagreements until the end of time. Why would the majority of Republican voters make that a priority? I want a candidate who is going to make liberals angry. They asked some similar questions. Why you're voting for Trump. For those who are voting for Trump, 94% say past performance as president. 94% say he fights for people like me. 84% say because he would beat Joe Biden. And 82% say how he deals with political opponents. I don't know. I mean, the polling data at the moment does not indicate that Donald Trump will beat Joe Biden. There are plenty of polls out that indicate that if Donald Trump is the GOP nominee, that he will lose to Joe Biden. The 2024 Republican nomination, likely GOP primary voters, if the nomination was right now, who are you considering? 24%. This is an interesting number. 24% of Republican primary voters say they would only vote for Donald Trump. That is a terrible number for Donald Trump. 49% of likely GOP primary voters, so nearly half, say they would vote for Trump or other candidates. And 27% say they would never consider Donald Trump. That is a troubling series of statistics and polling data for Donald Trump. If not even a quarter of Republicans say they're only going to vote for Donald Trump, but 3/4 of which say they would vote for Trump or other candidates or not Trump at all. How in the world does Donald Trump overcome that? If you're not voting for Donald Trump, they asked, why are you not voting for Donald Trump? 65% say they like other candidates more. Over half say he's too controversial. Half say how he deals with political opponents. So that's so interesting. So those who aren't voting for Trump cite how he deals with political opponents, but GOP primary voters want a candidate who makes liberals angry. You can't have it both ways. You can't say I don't want Donald Trump because I don't like how he deals with political opponents, and then say, but I want him to make liberals to cry. I want him to make liberals angry. And then 41% say they're not going to vote for Trump because of his ongoing legal battles. Asked, how does Donald Trump make you feel? For those who are not voting for Trump in the GOP primary, these are the top answers. How does Donald Trump make you feel? 49% say exhausted. And you know what? I got to say, if given the options, I think exhausted would probably be my word as well. Donald Trump wears me out. I am exhausted. And maybe it's just because I live in the news cycle. Maybe if I wasn't in radio news, I wouldn't feel exhausted by him. But with every tweet that came out while he was in office, with every tweet, with every statement, with every day, it was just exhausting following Donald Trump. 32% say Donald Trump makes them feel empowered. 29% say it makes them feel confident. 29% say Donald Trump makes you feel worried. So we're really running the gamut here on feelings for and against Donald Trump. If not Donald Trump, again, the survey continues, if not Donald Trump, you prefer a candidate who 37% say shows loyalty to Trump. Why in the hell would any other political candidate have to take a loyalty oath? What is this? We don't live in a place where you take loyalty oaths. 37% of Republicans, likely GOP primary voters, say if not Trump, they prefer a candidate who shows loyalty to Trump. Kiss the ring of Trump. I wholly reject that. 7% say criticizes Trump. I reject that as well. There's no if Trump is not the primary candidate, then who the hell cares about Donald Trump? There's no need to say his name again. And 56% say they want a nominee who doesn't talk about Donald Trump. See, now we're talking. We want a nominee that is not going to talk about Donald Trump, because at that point, Donald Trump will be absolutely 100% irrelevant. 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. Or hit me up in the open mic in the WDBO app.
Now, WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580. Triple Team Traffic.
A lockdown has been lifted in Midtown Atlanta, but police are still looking for a mass shooting suspect. One person was killed and 4 were injured in the shooting at the Atlanta Medical Center today. Police are searching for 24-year-old Dayon Patterson.
Two.
Wall Street's day is closing with stocks down after the Federal Reserve's 10th consecutive rate hike. Intel was one of the day's biggest gainers, rising by more than 2%. Meantime, Starbucks was one of the day's biggest losers, shedding more than 9%.
One.
First, 4-time nominees are among the inductees into the 2023 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Sheryl Crow, Missy Elliott, George Michael, and Willie Nelson are joined by Kate Bush, Rage Against the Machine, and the Spinners in the performer category. The induction ceremony will be held on November 3rd in Brooklyn.
So you should hear all the names I'm being called in the open mics right now. I'm going to play a couple of them. All right, coming up in a moment here, I'm going to play some audio for you. You're going to love this. As a Joe Biden voter is asked by a network television newscast, they asked, what is it you like about Joe Biden? And she literally locks up. I mean, she can't come up with an answer for a full 10 seconds. She just can't come up with a single thing that she likes about Joe Biden, and yet she professes her love about Joe Biden. My name is Joe Kelley. You can join me at 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. You can use the open mic in the WDBO app. Our video stream is up on the WDBO Facebook page. You can see Laurel Lee. You can see me. You can join the chat there in the discussion. There's a whole lot of people in the chat having a discussion about the same thing that we are talking about right now, and that is Trump and DeSantis and the 2024 presidential race and who the GOP nominee is going to be, who is going to be strong enough to beat Joe Biden, which that just sounds like a ludicrous question in the first place. Like, who would be strong enough to beat Joe Biden? I mean, a 10-year-old is strong enough to beat Joe Biden. I mean, it astounds me, but that's how much people hate Donald Trump. That's how much the majority of Americans hate Donald Trump, that they elected Joe Biden over Donald Trump. Blows my mind. 844-580-WDBO. Go to Groveland first. Keith, you're on the Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. Hi.
Yeah, hi. How you doing, Joe?
I'm great, thanks.
I'm going to start out with my dream ticket. Trump, DeSantis, 2024, and then followed up by DeSantis, 2028, 2032. All right?
And
Trump has a strong record of positive accomplishments for America across all of what are now tribes, thanks to the Democratic Party. Okay? He helped all the minorities in terms of employment. Our unemployment rate was way down. Job participation was way up. Foreign policy, all of that stuff. The Democratic Party under Joe Biden has destroyed that. And the Democratic Party, starting with Barack Obama and now with Joe Biden and his ship of fools, is trying to destroy the United States. And any Democrat that is running for office is lying if they say that they'll work across the aisle and stuff like that. When it comes to important things, they line up like ducks. Actually like lemmings.
But you think it's just Democrats? You think it's just Democrats that lie?
Yes. Well, to more of an extent than the Republicans do.
I mean, I don't give any of them my full faith and credit. I don't believe in any of our elected officials on a local level, state level, or a federal level. I believe that we have to hold their feet to the fire continuously. We have to hold them accountable, and that goes for Republicans and for Democrats. And on the idea of your dream ticket, Keith, I've heard a lot of people suggest the same, that a dream ticket would be Trump at the top and DeSantis as the VP. IP, there are constitutional problems with that would prevent that from happening. So that is highly unlikely that would be able to happen. Plus, the electoral votes. You're not going to get the electoral votes from Florida if that happens, and Florida has too many electoral college votes.
I cannot stand Donald Trump or his behavior towards Ron DeSantis, but Ron needs to get himself together and make up with Disney behind closed doors, because how can he broker peace on the world stage if he can't get along with the biggest employer in the state of Florida?
I do wonder if if Governor DeSantis has any regrets about picking that fight with Disney or Disney picking that fight with him. I wonder if DeSantis would handle it any differently if he had the chance to do over again, because I do believe that is damaging him some. I mean, even Republicans are criticizing Ron DeSantis over his relationship and handling of Disney. Coming up next, America is getting less civil. I'm going to give you examples of that, and we'll get into why that is the case. That's coming up next, plus more of your calls and comments. Coming up next here on WDBO.
This is WDBO.
WDBO.
107.3 FM and AM 580.
Good evening, 5:30 here at WDBO. Hey, download our WDBO app so you don't miss your next chance at winning $1,000 with the payroll payout. Your next chance is coming up tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. when you could get paid just for listening to WDBO. Our top story, police have identified Dion Patterson as a suspect in connection to a shooting in Atlanta on Wednesday. Atlanta Police Chief Darren Sherbaum provides more info on the casualties while speaking at a press conference.
A 39-year-old female has lost her life. And of those that are injured is a 71-year-old female, a 56-year-old female, a 39-year-old female, and then a 25-year-old female.
The shooting occurred in a waiting room of a medical facility. The 24-year-old gunman is yet to be taken into custody. Republicans are issuing a subpoena to the FBI to obtain a document that allegedly links President Biden to a criminal scheme.
In a letter to the DOJ and FBI, House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer said a whistleblower claims a document in the FBI's possession describes an alleged scheme involving then Vice President Biden and a foreign national relating to the exchange of money for policy decisions. Comer said the information raises concerns Biden may have engaged in a bribery scheme. No specifics of the allegations were provided in the letter, which was authored jointly with Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley. Both are leading investigations into Hunter Biden and the Biden family. I'm Lisa Taylor.
Remember to have that WDBO app downloaded so you don't miss your chance of winning $1,000 with the WDBO payroll payout coming up tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. It's 5:32 here at WDBO.
I added him to the screen. Paul, there's got to be a way that I don't have to send you an invite every time. Like if you were to bookmark the page or something. I think I tell you what I'll do is tomorrow when I log in, I'm going to send you a different link that you should be able to bookmark, because I just bookmark it and I go to the same place every time. And then you have to enter the room yourself instead of being invited to the room. Cool?
Can you hear me?
No, he can't hear you.
He can hear me. I can't hear him.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear Joe.
Me,
and
right?
what I did is I bookmarked the page on the first 2 days that he sent me. I went into those rooms and I just sat there and I was the only one in there.
Right. So the link he's going to send you tomorrow is essentially the waiting room where you're going to see a bunch of different of these rooms for different shows. And then you'll see Joe Kelley Show and you can enter that one.
Okay, that will work. But just the one link every day that I was getting, or that I went to before, the one link.
Hey, can we
wasn't
say
working.
bastard on the radio?
Right, I get it, Paul. No, I don't think. I don't know.
We can say
Yes,
bastard
okay,
on the
Paul says
radio,
yes.
right?
It
I'm the
depends.
boss, right? Can I make?
Right, you're the one that's going to get fired
That's
if
true.
you're wrong. So
That's
sure,
true.
go ahead.
That's true. That's true. It's my
Is he going to call me a
responsibility. I did
bastard?
bleep the guy who said the F word and the S word.
Yeah, well, yeah, both of those are a no-go.
Ask him if he wants me to lock out. I'm the bastard Paul Cross.
Wait
with
till you
WDBO
hear how
traffic.
colossally rude people are.
Paul said he's going to lock out. I'm the bastard Paul Cross.
Maybe that's not a good idea. Let me fall on that sword, not you.
I've fallen on many.
Joe, I'm seeing two different pronunciations for this Atlanta shooter. I'm seeing Dion and Dayon. Do you have any idea how it's supposed to be spelled? Okay, yeah. But both news sources are saying it differently.
Barry Tiller in the comment section. What do you mean is that Jay? What are you asking there?
Jay Edwards?
Or is he talking about me?
Oh, that was your old name.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I used to go by Jay
Oh.
because my initials are JJ, Joseph James. And then someone got lazy once and dropped the other J. How lazy do you have to be to call someone JJ and then just shorten it to one less letter? This is being streamed on the WDBO Facebook page. It's being streamed on the Talk Radio Joe Facebook page, and it's being streamed on the Talk Radio Joe YouTube channel.
Seeing a crash now on Curry Ford Road, eastbound at Dixie Bell Drive. The right lane of that street is closed on Curry Ford. Also, a crash on University just east of Dean Road. And we're looking at heavy delays I-4 westbound through Lake Mary, then from Parr onto the 408 ramps as you make your way into downtown. This report sponsored by Fresh from Florida. Shoppers, this is your local sweet corn farmer letting you know that Florida sweet corn is in season. Learn more at followfreshfromflorida.com from the Florida Department of Agriculture. And from the WDBO Triple Team Traffic Center, I'm Paul Cross.
Insightful.
You tell the truth from your point of view.
Entertaining.
Man, that guy is a lot taller than he sounds on the radio.
And engaging.
When we hear you on the radio, it's a good thing.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
So we call this MOS in the business, man on the street, right? Man on the street interviews, or Vox Populi is the Latin terminology for it. But ABC News did a man on the street segment where they went out and asked a bunch of Joe Biden supporters what it was that they really like about Joe Biden. And I think you're really going to like this segment here, particularly if you don't like Joe Biden.
From the Pennsylvania state capitol in Harrisburg to historic Philadelphia and the suburbs, Democrats are divided on whether or not President Biden should be running again. You voted for Biden.
I did.
He announced this week. What was your reaction?
Regret, disappointment, frustration.
While it's very early in the race, that disappointment and frustration was expressed again and again by young voters we talked to.
I think I would go for Biden, but obviously I would prefer a fresher candidate.
He announced this week. Were you excited by that?
Not particularly. I'm more interested in a progressive candidate.
Despite having voted for Biden last time, 21-year-old Elena Symes couldn't point me to anything that would make her want to vote for him again, except...
What do you like about Joe Biden? That he's not Trump.
The hesitation for many is exactly what the polls say. Age.
I would say that he's way too old and very unfit to be president.
That was a 10-second pause. It took her 10 seconds to say that the thing that she likes most about Joe Biden is that he is not Donald Trump. And that is how we ended up with a Joe Biden presidency, because people weren't out there voting for Joe Biden. There was no reason to vote for Joe Biden. Joe Biden wasn't even out asking for the vote. This was purely people rallying together saying, we can't have another 4 years of Donald Trump. I'm not going to tolerate it, people said, and they went out and they voted for Joe Biden en masse. Now, I'm going to pivot here. We'll keep taking your phone calls on DeSantis and Trump. But one of the things that I really want to do here on the Joe Kelley Show is to move through topics quickly, because I know a lot of you guys are on your way home, and I want to be able to get through a variety of topics. I don't want to beat a topic to death. I want to be able to get to a variety of news. And so the message to you is if you want to participate in a conversation, you'll need to call or open mic soon, quickly, before we move on and change our topics, change discussions. But the American Bar Association has done a poll, and it's a survey of civic literacy and civility in today's society. And they say that civility in today's society, that 85% of respondents say civility is worse than a decade ago. Only 8% said that civility has gotten better. I don't know how 8% of people could think that we are more civil today. I don't know that we've ever been this anti-civil, short of maybe the Civil War. That was pretty anti-civil. But our level of civility here in just day-to-day conversations is brutal. And I will give you 3 examples in the last few minutes. They're all in open mics. Listen to the absolute lack of civility in this discussion.
Because we know the election was stolen, you moron. It was stolen. We know it. You're not going to change our mind.
All right, so there's that one. And then there's this one.
Actually, sir, you're mistaken. He did win, and Joe Biden is in the White House under a fraudulent election. It was tampered with. We all know it. You know it. You just want to admit it to yourself, you little bastard.
So there's that. Hang on. This one gets better. This might be the same guy, so angry that he left a second open mic, because he also calls me the B word in this one too, or someone, or maybe that word just fits me really well. I don't know.
Hey, Joe Kelley, I used to like you, but the more I listen to you, the more I realize that you're full of f***ing shit. Why don't you just go ahead and join the f***ing leftist and be done with it, you little bastard? So yeah, both said little bastard. So I don't get the lack of civility. Even if you disagree with me politically, which we all disagree with one another on varying levels, what's with the anger? I mean, is that the anger that you carry around with you at all times? I mean, do you get set off? Are you triggered that easily when someone says something that you politically disagree with? It triggers that level of anger in you. I do not understand people who are so emotional and get so angry if they dare be exposed to an opinion that doesn't match theirs, or facts that don't match their facts. Safe Touch Security, Triple Team Traffic, PC Paul Cross on our video stream with us right now and checking that drive here for a Wednesday night. Hello, Paul.
Nothing but facts, Joe. Got a crash on Curry Ford Road eastbound at Dixie Bell Drive, and then first responders there have the right lane closed. Also a crash on Conway Road at Simmons Road, and then lots of brake lights right now on I-4 westbound as you make your way through Lake Marion as you head into downtown from Parr onto the 408 eastbound ramps. This report sponsored by Fresh from Florida. Shoppers, this is your local sweet corn farmer letting you know that Florida sweet corn is in season. Learn more at followfreshfromflorida.com from the Florida Department of Agriculture. And from the WDBO Triple Team Traffic Center, I'm Paul Cross.
I'm Joe Kelley. Join me at 844-580-WDBO. And I do want to address that lack of civility. I will tell you that my vision for this radio show, I know that people are driving home. You're on your way home. You're going to go give a big hug to your family. You're going to go pet the dog. You're going to give your kitten belly scratches. You're going to go get some food. You might go have a cocktail. I know that you've probably had a very long day at the office. And honestly, the last thing that I want to present to you guys this late in any afternoon is just vile hatred and anger and bitterness and squabbling and arguing and screaming and yelling. It's not going to be all sunshine and roses by any stretch of the imagination. But I like the way that Jimmy Fallon describes it, and that is all opinions are welcome. All types of people are welcome. This is a safe space for anybody to come talk, to join the program, to call in, to leave an open mic. But my only rule is don't be a jerk. Just don't be a jerk. Just because you disagree with something I say, it doesn't make me your enemy unless that's your decision. I don't view you any less favorably because of your anger management issues. But you know, this show is not going to be like that. I played those 3 open mics to give an example of the lack of civility in our society today. But I am not going to play open mics of people just cursing and dropping anger bombs. The open mic is the verbal assassination tool for radio hosts and others. Because you don't have to leave your name. You don't leave your name. You don't leave your phone number. You don't actually have a discussion face to face. It is, you're sniping. You're taking sniping shots at somebody, anybody, whoever it is, without any accountability. And I just think that's not something that is going to be a part of this show. Doesn't mean you have to say nice things to me. You can certainly disagree. But if you're going to be, just an absolute jerk about it, your open mics absolutely will not make it on the air here on WDBO. That I can absolutely assure you. So disagreements are certainly welcome, but being a jerk is not at all. Let's go to Eileen, who's joining us in Merritt Island at 844-580-WDBO. Hello, Eileen. How are you?
Hey, good, Mr. Kelley. How are you?
Very good, thanks.
Good. Well, I did want to chime in on what you were saying between DeSantis and Trump. And while I respect your opinions about Trump, I do think that he would be the one that brings our country back for the next 4 years in 2024. And then I think DeSantis, while I don't want to lose him as our governor either, but I think then DeSantis would be ready to run at that point. So, but I do think Trump is strong enough to bring us back. I mean, there's so much that has been undone.
Now, but you do realize that at least half of America hates him with a white hot passion, right?
I do, but you know what, though? The more that he bashes DeSantis in the Floridians' minds, and a lot of Floridians love Trump. I mean, there's Trump flags everywhere.
Sure.
And while they also love DeSantis, they want to keep DeSantis. But the more that Trump bashes DeSantis, he's losing a Floridian a day, it seems like.
I will tell you, Eileen, that was the first thing that struck me when Donald Trump went after Ron DeSantis and started calling him nicknames and stuff. That was the first thing to me that said, damn, I am not going to vote for Donald Trump no matter what. I mean, don't go after Ron DeSantis. Don't go after our guy. That really sits the wrong way with me, and I think it does with a lot of Floridians. I mean, we're not going to get Democrats. Democrats aren't going to vote for Trump, and they're not going to vote for DeSantis. So they've really got to be able to find a way to bring the Republican Party together, and I just don't know that Donald Trump can do that. I don't know that half of the Republican Party would support Donald Trump at this point, because he rubs a lot of people the wrong way.
Yeah, I just pray that during his CNN time next week that he can control his name calling and whatever he's saying about DeSantis, he keeps that.
I hope so. And by the way, Eileen, are you aware? Have you read yet that it seems that we're not going to get a presidential debate, either a primary debate or a general debate, because Donald Trump doesn't want to debate. Ron DeSantis doesn't want to debate. Joe Biden
Biden won't
clearly
debate.
he can't debate. He has got his brain tied behind his back. There's no way that he could debate. But we may have our first presidential election in a very, very, very long time, maybe ever, that doesn't have a presidential debate of any sort. So all of these,
Well, that would be ridiculous.
That would be unfortunate, because I would like to see how they interact with one another in those types of situations. Eileen, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for your phone call. You can join me now. I got an open line at 844-580-WDBO. And on the subject of civility, what do you think has triggered the lack of civility that we see in our society today? What is the cause? What do you identify as, oh yeah, this is why we're so angry and lack civility today? Hit me up right now on the open mic or call 844-580-WDBO.
Now, WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580. Triple Team Traffic.
Got a new crash on Econ Trail at University Boulevard, and then another one on Primrose Drive at Jefferson Street. This is just west of Crystal Lake Drive, and a wreck on Conway Road at Simmons Road. From the WDBO Triple Team Traffic Center, I'm Paul Cross.
Congratulations to Christine from Winter Springs for winning the WDBO payroll payout of $1,000.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
Download the WDBO app now so you don't miss your next chance at getting on the payroll payout, coming up tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Georgia Senator Raphael Warnock says his 2 young kids were placed on lockdown because of today's mass shooting in Atlanta. He pleaded with his colleagues to do everything we can to stop mass shootings. Warnock added that the thoughts and prayers are not enough. 8th graders are starting to fall behind when it comes to U.S. history and civics. The National Assessment for Education Progress was released today, showing that in 2022, just 13% reached or exceeded what's considered proficient in history. 40% performed at below what's considered the basic level.
Get paid just for listening to WDBO.
This is awesome.
All right, my apologies. I'm still learning the clock here of the new show, the Joe Kelley Show, and we're just taking a quick segment here, and then we're going to get right back into the commercials. We'll check the news coming up at 6 o'clock, so we're about 4 minutes away from Laurel's newscast, and then we're going to get back into your comments coming up in a few minutes. I saw something bizarre in a parking lot today that I want to share with you. That'll be coming up just after 6 o'clock as well. But we'll continue the Joe Kelley Show next.
Now, WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580. Triple Team Traffic.
Got a crash on Conway Road northbound after Hoffner Avenue. It's blocking the left lane, and an object on the roadway now, 408 westbound at Rouse Road. Having tech issues? No worries. Visit Refresh Computers, Central Florida's budget computer store. Visit Refresh Computers in Longwood or at refreshcomputers.net. From the WDBO Triple Team Traffic Center, I'm Paul Cross.
WDBO Orlando, WOEX FM HD2 Orlando, W297BB Orlando. Powered by Talon Wealth Management. Visit guardingyournestegg.com. Listen everywhere with the WDBO app, a Cox Media Group station.
I studied Spanish in college and never got fluent. But then I tried Babbel.
Want the most effective way to learn another language? In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel's bite-sized lessons will have you learning another language in as little as 3 weeks.
Babbel is all conversation-based, so it gets you speaking quickly about things you actually talk about in the real world.
You'll really see a difference in how you can speak and how conversational you can be in just a few weeks.
Good evening, 6 o'clock here at WDBO. Make sure you have the WDBO app downloaded so you don't miss your next chance of winning $1,000 with the WDBO payroll payout. Your next chance coming up tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. You could get paid just for listening to WDBO. Our top story, one person is dead, 4 others are hurt after a shooting in Midtown Atlanta today. Police have identified the suspect as 24-year-old Dion Patterson and adds that he is still on the loose. Chief Medical Officer of Grady Health System, Dr. Robert Jansen, provided an update on the conditions of those injured while also commending his staff for their preparation.
By the time they arrived, we were fully staffed. We had empty rooms waiting. It was absolutely seamless. I cannot be more proud of the way Grady handled this.
All 5 of the victims were women, according to police, with a 39-year-old woman being killed. Officers add that those who spotted the suspect called 911 and said, "Do not approach him if you see him. He is considered armed and dangerous." Well, a few Florida cities are making the top 10 of allergy capitals.
The Asthma and Allergy Foundation of America put together a list of what they call the allergy capitals of the U.S. The organization considered pollen scores, how often over-the-counter allergy medication was used in the cities, and the availability of allergists. Wichita, Kansas took the number 1 spot, but 3 Florida cities took places in the top 10. Orlando took 8th place, while Cape Coral and Sarasota took 6th and 7th. Sophie Diaz, WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580.
Make sure you have that WDBO app downloaded so you don't miss your chance of winning $1,000 tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. with the WDBO payroll payout. It's 6:02 here at WDBO.
AM 580, Triple Team Traffic.
Lingering brake lights, I-4 westbound through Lake Mary, and then from Parr onto the 408 ramp, Sand Lake to 535 and Osceola Parkway into Champions Gate. I-4 eastbound is slow past the Disney exits. You're going to tap the brakes at the Turnpike, and then Parr to Lee, and then you're on and off the brakes here between Lake Mary Boulevard and the bridge. ProTech Air Conditioning and Plumbing Service for honesty, integrity, and 100% customer satisfaction. Call ProTech at 407-291-1644 or visit protechac.com. From the WDBO Triple Team Traffic Center, I'm Paul Cross.
Breaking news to lively debates, covering the issues that matter to you.
I make it a point to listen to Joe Kelley when I need to fully understand what's happening in the news.
Now, the Joe Kelley Show on Orlando's News and Talk, WDBO.
So I went today to Advent Health Apopka Hospital. I went to go see a friend there today, this morning. And anytime I've been there in the past, the parking is always a bit of a bear. Seems like it's always tough to find a parking space there at that hospital. And today I noticed as I tried to find a parking space, there were dozens of parking spaces that were marked off for, quote, low emission vehicle only. Low emission vehicle only is what the signs said on the parking spaces. You can see it right now on the WDBO Facebook page. And it was astonishing because there was really like no cars were parked in that, because there were no cars evidently that had low emissions. And then it just, to me, it raises so many questions when they say that, there we go. When they say, low emission vehicle only, what exactly does that mean by low emission vehicle? Because by today's standards, all vehicles are low emission vehicles. I mean, if you were to put a 72 Dodge there, that would be a very high emission vehicle. But any car that has been made in the 2000s, I mean, the emissions are significantly lower than they once were. And I don't understand why exactly they're putting parking spaces there that say low emission vehicles only, because none of those parking spaces had a charging station at them. It's not like you could park your low emission Tesla there and charge it while it's parked at the hospital. There is no charging station whatsoever. It is purely giving preferential upfront parking to people who drive so-called green vehicles. Now, ironically, at a different ad, I remember this when the pandemic got started. I went to the Advent Health Hospital in Winter Garden, and they literally had signs up that said green vehicles only. And the running joke was that if your car was color green, the color green, that you could park there. And I saw on many occasions colored green color cars that would park there when they meant green as far as fuel efficiency goes. But what exactly is the end goal there for marking off parking spaces that say for low emission vehicles only? Why would those drivers get preferential parking, if not just pure virtue signaling? I mean, I get that the government takes, does certain things to try to change the behavior of American citizens. Things by raising taxes on cigarettes, raising taxes on alcohol, things like that is supposed to discourage us from buying those kinds of things. But why would a hospital do something like that? Why would any business do something like that and mark off parking spaces to try to incentivize people to drive more green automobiles? And again, today's even today's big rigs. I mean, today's big rigs are cleaner. The air that comes out of the pipes in many cases is cleaner than the air that gets sucked into the radiator. It's cleaner than the air that you're breathing. So most vehicles are green vehicles these days. But are you encountering parking spaces like that? And what sense does it make? 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. Laurel, have you encountered, those kinds of parking spaces before?
Yeah, I've seen them, and I drive a truck, so I only stare at them for about half of a second before I'm like,
driving. Right.
That's not my parking spot. But I never see them filled ever. So yes. I don't know. I don't get it either.
Right. What is the point in blocking off those parking spaces? They're not getting filled. I mean, no one is parking there. So I just don't quite understand the point. If you want to see what they look like, we've got pictures on the WDBO Facebook page. If you're just joining us in the last hour, we've been talking about civility and how there is a lack of civility today and how everybody seemingly just wants to be angry about everything. And people lash out. They lash out at anything that they can lash out to. And it really just blows my mind how people have become so uncivil in today's society. George, thanks for holding on. You're calling from Orlando. You're on the Joe Kelley Show here on WDBO. Hi, George.
Hey, what's going on, Joe? Long-time listener, first-time caller type of deal. But I would tell you one thing, definitely what's going on right now, the lack of civility. There's nobody ever goes ahead and looks at the other side. Everybody demands that they're got to be right. Nobody goes ahead and sit there and takes a step back and say, if I'm making this decision, if I'm spending my money, what else is going to be happening? What is the ripple effect of what's going on? Because we've never had this problem 20 years ago. Even left wing, right wing, any of that, we could still come together as a nation and work together to solve a problem. Today, it's no.
Well, and George, I still believe that. I firmly believe, and I sense that you do too, that we, you and me, and even the open mic guys that hated me and everything else, I believe that we have more in common than not. And I've got friends who are Democrats. I've got friends who are gay. I've got friends who are cross-dressers. I've got friends. I mean, God says to love your neighbor, but you can't love your neighbor if you don't meet your neighbor. And if we isolate ourselves in our little silos and we never step out of our silos and we never entertain anybody else's ideas or anybody else's discussion, then we're not going to get to know anybody. I mean, I just because I disagree with someone doesn't mean they're my enemy, doesn't mean I'm going to hate them.
Exactly. Exactly.
George, thank you so much. I'm glad you called. I do appreciate that. You can join me at 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326 or use the open mic in the WDBO app.
I think all those guys are angry because they see what this left government has been doing to our country, throwing it down the toilet. I wish everybody would wake up and see what they have done.
Man checking in out by the airport. I could hear a plane going by in the background.
That's the problem right there. That woman, like you said, Joe, she paused for 10 seconds. What don't you like about Joe Biden? She paused for 10 seconds, laughed, and then said, he's not Trump. TDS, let me tell you, it's a very, very sad thing. TDS is a very real thing.
Yeah, TDS, Trump derangement syndrome. And frankly, I think you can cite TDS as why we have a President Joe Biden. I think people got so irritated at Donald Trump that they voted him out of office. I mean, he didn't, and I know when I say that, I'll get some more lack of civilized comments saying, no, he did win. He did win. We could litigate that until the end of time, and nobody is going to budge off of their positions about whether or not Joe Biden legitimately won the White House in 2020. Why are people getting nastier? I thought this open mic here has a lot of validity.
Hey, Joe. I think people were rude to each other before COVID, but I think having people not interact and see each other's faces, it made it easier to be nastier. And I have seen an increase in people being nastier for no reason. I don't know what's causing it. It's not just politics.
Yeah, according to the American Bar Association, their survey, Rude Awakening, Civility in America, compared to 10 years ago, would you say civility in today's society is worse, better, or the same? 85% say worse, 6% say better, and 8% say it's the same. Asked who is responsible for eroding civility in our society, in this order, it's social media, public officials, the educational system, popular culture, undecided, and then law enforcement, courts, and lastly, the clergy. 1% blame the damn clergy. Oh. Who should be, the American Bar asked, who should be primarily responsible for improving civility in our society? I would say, without looking at the answers first, I would say that starts with me. And by me, I don't mean me, Joe Kelley. I mean, every person should say civility starts with me. And I do believe that it starts with me in the Joe Kelley sense, which is why as we had planned this radio show and strategized what we wanted to achieve with this radio show. One of the absolute number one things that came back time and time again is civility. And we wanted to be part of a radio show that is civil and not part of a radio show where we have to bleep people's language, not part of a radio show where people are screaming at one another. If I ever raise my voice, it's almost always in jest. I'm almost always trying to make an ironic point if I'm yelling, because otherwise I generally, if I'm being honest, it hurts my throat when I yell. So I'm just not one of those hostile guys that will just come into a room yelling at people. But the question asked, who should be primarily responsible for improving civility in our society? The number one response is family and friends. Family and friends. My family and friends are incredibly civil. That's why they're my family and friends. Well, that's why they're my friends, at least. My family is my family. Number two is public officials. Yeah, I would agree that public officials could certainly rein it in. Some local leaders, that's still public officials is next. 9% are undecided. 7% say it should be teachers. Teachers should improve civility in our society, followed by the media, followed by clergy, law enforcement, and celebrities. Oh, yes, celebrities. Asked who is most responsible for instilling civility in children. The majority of respondents say parents and family, followed by schools and others. So there it is, our absolute lack of civility in society today. And honestly, I mean, we get a lot of it on the open mic, and not just here today, since the invention of the open mic, since we rolled out the open mic. I mean, we have had employees who have said, look, man, I don't like going through the open mics. I don't like listening to the open mics because people are so colossally rude and uncivilized. And it is that same kind of rage that leads to road rage. It's the same kind of rage that leads to fist fights in parking lots. I mean, it is unbelievable to me. And I firmly believe that you and I have so much more in common than we do in opposition of one another. And it's a shame that everybody doesn't see it that way. 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. By the way, we've launched a new podcast with the show as well. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts. If you get it in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere, just look for The Joe Kelley Show, and you can subscribe to the podcast there. And you can also follow us on our YouTube page. You can follow us on the WDBO Facebook page. And then look for me anywhere on social media. It's at Talk Radio Joe. Should be pretty easy to find in most locations. The governor, so the 60-day state legislative session wraps, and the governor is at the point now where all the bills are landing on his desk. I don't know if he's back in the state yet, but the governor is going to have some bills to sign here in the days ahead. One of the bills is a pre-K through 8 gender teaching ban and a pronoun restriction bill. These are going to DeSantis now. So the Florida Senate gave the final passage to a bill that prohibits school teachers from teaching sexual orientation or gender identity from grades pre-K through 8. Now, you're thinking, didn't we already do that? Don't we already have that? Well, sort of, yes. So this bill expands the Parental Rights and Education Act, which was falsely dubbed the Don't Say Gay bill. But the original Parental Rights and Education Act covered kindergarten through 3rd grade. This covers pre-K through 8th grade. The legislation also puts restrictions on pronoun uses in schools. It defines sex. Do you want me to give you the definition of sex according to the state of Florida? I will in a minute, so hang on. And it adds guidelines for books that citizens are challenging in the schools. The bill extends the existing K through 3 ban on instruction relating to sexual orientation and gender identity to include pre-K through 8. Charter schools must comply with the same restrictions, the same requirements. Now, grades 9 through 12, when you get into high school, the bill requires that instruction on sexual orientation and gender identity must be age appropriate or developmentally appropriate for students. I think we can get behind that, right? I mean, I think honestly, you could teach, even younger kids age appropriate things, because even younger kids will say, mommy, daddy, how did I get made? Where did my little brother come from? I mean, so little kids have questions. And as parents, we are generally wise enough to give them age appropriate and developmentally appropriate responses. So I don't have a problem at all with that in schools if you're giving age appropriate or developmentally appropriate responses for students. Now, do you want to define sex? Oh, look at that. We've run out of time here in this segment. Hang on. We'll give you the Florida state's definition of sex. And this matters. This matters because it can't be discussed or taught in our schools. So if you have children in the car, I promise you, if you have children in the car, they're not going to understand this definition of sex anyway. I'm not sure I understand this definition of sex. Hang on, we'll have it for you coming up right after this. Stay there.
Now, WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580. Triple Team Traffic.
Still seeing some minor slowing I-4 westbound past Lake Mary Boulevard, then from Princeton onto the 408 ramp, Sand Lake to 535 and Osceola Parkway into Champions Gate. Do have a crash on Curry Ford Road eastbound at Dixie Bell Drive. This is right before the 417 and the right lane is closed. A lot of traffic there. It's a very busy
part of your drive home. So there is some backups there and some brake lights as you approach the 417. This report sponsored by Mattress Firm. Shop Mattress Firm's Memorial Day sale. Get a king for the price of a queen, plus a free adjustable base on select mattresses. And from the WDBO Triple Team Traffic Center, I'm Paul Cross.
Now, the three big things you need to know.
All of the people injured in the Atlanta mass shooting were adults. That's according to a doctor from Grady Memorial Hospital. It's not known if the deceased person in the shooting is also, well, we do know now she's a 39-year-old female. Two. Interest rates are going up again. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell announced the central bank is raising rates by 0.25 percentage point, adding that the Fed is committed to bringing inflation down to 2%. A post-meeting statement from the Fed suggests it could pause further increases next month. Two games are up on the NHL playoff schedule tonight. The Carolina Hurricanes will welcome in the New Jersey Devils for Game 1 of their second-round series. In the West, the Golden Knights will play host to the Edmonton Oilers in the first game of their series.
Just for listening to WDBO.
This is awesome.
Hey, Joe. It all starts with us is correct. That is the correct answer. because us is teacher, clergy, brothers, sisters, mom, dad, Democrats, Republicans, right? It all starts with us. Back off the social media, the media hyperbole a little bit more. Go outside and shake some hands, talk to some people, and you'll be surprised.
I agree with you. Again, God says to love your neighbor, and you can't love your neighbor if you don't go out and meet your neighbors and get a chance to know them. And I guess in my scenario, it's a little bit different because I genuinely believe that I live in a commune type setting because I live in a downtown high rise. I mean, I see my neighbors all the time, and my neighbors are all incredibly diverse. And I get a chance to meet him and talk to him and get to know him on a personal level. And it's been honestly to me, it's one of the joys of living there is getting the opportunity to meet people that aren't like me. I've met me. I know people like me. I want to meet new people. I want to meet people that aren't like me. And I enjoy that. I enjoy getting a chance to meet strangers and learning, what makes them tick. But just losing it is to me is unacceptable. I mean, it's just when you lack civility, I just don't get it. Here, I got to define sex for you. Ready? So this legislation that Governor DeSantis is gonna sign puts restrictions on pronoun uses in schools, and it defines sex. So here's the definition of sex. The bill defines sex as the classification of a person as either female or male based upon organization of the body of such person for a specific reproductive role as indicated by the person's sex chromosomes, naturally occurring sex hormones, along with internal and external genitalia present at birth. Whew. So that's sex. That's what sex having. Well, that's really what gender is more than sex, I would suggest. But that is the definition as far as the state is concerned. 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. Let's go to Mark, who's checking in from Orlando. You're on WDBO. Hi, Mark.
You catching me as a regular, but your civility discussion, I would lay it at the feet of two things that have become proud over time.
Hang on, Mark. I'm afraid we got you on we got you in a bad cell location as you're cutting out. What are the two things that you blame?
I'd say that admitting you're wrong, seen as a sign of and an unwillingness to compromise.
Yeah, I think right. Unwillingness to compromise. Yep. I think that might well be part of it for sure. I don't think it's any one thing that has made us so uncivilized these days. I think it's a variety of things. I think the media is partly responsible. Social media is partly responsible. Our politicians are partly responsible. You and me are partly responsible for this. Mike in Orlando, you're on WDBO. Hi, Mike.
Hey, Joe, I love your show.
Thank you, ma'am.
Because everybody's pissed off because they're broke. Ever since COVID, everyone got a bunch of free money. They quit their jobs, and now they're realizing they have to get back to work. That's what I'm seeing. 100%.
That is very interesting. Do you know a lot of people who aren't working right now?
Yeah, a few. I do IT stuff for the Army, so I see a lot of people come and go, and they don't want to work hard anymore, and they're just they got to get back to work. So we're going to be in this situation for another couple of years.
These are definitely strange times, to be sure.
Yep. Time to get back to work, people.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Coming up next here on WDBO, you've heard people, you've heard other radio shows, play the Kamala Harris word salads that she will sometimes throw out and throw up. And the words don't make any sense, but not everything is what you believe it to be. And you'll hear an example coming up in just a couple of minutes. Stay right there. I'm Joe Kelley. This is WDBO.
This is WDBO.
Good evening, 6:30 here at WDBO. Make sure you have that WDBO app downloaded so you don't miss your next chance of winning $1,000 with the WDBO payroll payout. Your next chance is coming up tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. You could get paid just for listening to WDBO. Our top story of the 5 victims shot in central Atlanta hospitals today. There are 4 survivors, 3 of those in critical condition. Dr. Robert Jansen of the Grady Health System says 2 went to the operating room and another to interventional radiology.
2 of them were particularly serious, the ones that went to the operating room. And the one in the interventional radiology was in critical condition, too. So all 3 of those are very serious injuries.
Florida's governor, our governor, signing a bipartisan bill to lower the price of prescriptions by reforming a practice of health insurers.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signs a new law reforming the practices of pharmacy benefit managers as used by health insurance companies, which lawmakers claim take choice away from patients while tacking premiums to the out-of-pocket costs of medicine.
When they charge health plans and payers, they will charge them more for a prescription drug than what they actually reimburse to the pharmacy, and then they keep the difference.
DeSantis, speaking in Jupiter, says PBMs force people, including seniors, to use specific pharmacies without the ability to shop around. The bill passed with no opposition. In Broward County, Florida, Eben Brown, Fox News.
Make sure you have that WDBO app downloaded and ready to go so you don't miss your next chance of winning $1,000 with the WDBO payroll payout coming up tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. It's 6:32 here at WDBO. Do you know you're talking with a muted mic?
I thought you unmuted my mics. I thought that was your job. Okay, so anyhow.
No, I was on the air, dude. I was doing
news.
news.
I know. Anyhow. So I wanted to put Chris's comment up because I want to address it. And Chris, I agree with you. You're right. And I appreciate how you put that. I wholeheartedly agree. And our goal was, you have no idea the mountains that we moved to get it so we could talk to you guys during the commercial breaks. That was my idea. I was like, I want to be able to talk to our listeners. I want to be able to talk to the people in the chat. But I will tell you that we don't have a huge staff here, right? I mean, you're pretty much looking at the whole team right here on screen. We've got 2 other people in the other room, and that's it. There's 5 of us, and we all have different jobs. We don't have on many nights. In fact, I'm wrong. There's 1 person in the other room. So the person who runs the board also screens the calls, and that leaves me to having to listen to the open mics, which I like to do. I like to be able to listen to the open mics. So invariably what happens is during a commercial break, when I want to be able to talk to you guys, I have to listen to open mics. And then when Laurel does her newscasts and her 3 big things, we can't talk anyway during those segments. And the same when Paul is doing traffic. So when Paul's doing traffic, we can't talk. And when Laurel's doing news, we can't talk. So, and then I'm always trying to find good open mics to play. So I agree with you. We all agree with you. And honestly, I would love nothing more than when I get off the air during each break, if I could just turn right to you guys and chat with y'all. Because that's honestly, this part is easily as fun as the on the radio part. I like this part, but it's just that we're so busy. And unless and until we can either hire more people, outsource the work, or automate the work, or replace us with AI. Don't replace us with AI. So yes, we're aware of that, and we're working on it. We're working on getting better to be able to talk to you guys during the commercial breaks. But keep in mind also that we're still learning the show. I still have to look at my notes. I figure I'll have to have these notes in front of me for a couple of weeks until I get it all memorized, because we moved some of the commercial breaks, we moved our traffic times, we changed our news times, and we've changed everything that we've been doing for the past 2 years. We've changed everything. And so We got to learn all the new steps.
Yeah, what Joe said.
Yeah.
Barry, thank you for the automobile talk. The car talk goes into the air manifold. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Yeah, it doesn't go into the radiator. Radiator has liquid in it. All right, you got to hear this audio of Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris talking complete gibberish. This video made the rounds, and now it has millions of likes and shares. Listen to this word salad here from Kamala Harris.
Today is today. And yesterday was today, yesterday. Tomorrow will be today, tomorrow. So live today. So the future today will be as the past today as it is tomorrow.
Now, while that sounds like something Kamala Harris might say, that is not actually Kamala Harris saying that. That is what they call a shallow fake. It's not a deep fake because it's not that good. It's a shallow fake of Kamala Harris. But the problem is the damage is done. And when again, I kind of go back to civility. You know, when people can make up fake videos of politicians saying fake things, all it does is, well, it stokes two things. It stokes a lack of civility and it stokes mistrust. Yeah, I don't trust anything that I hear any politician say now, particularly that they may well not have said it. It may well be a deep fake or a shallow fake or something else, some sort of AI or something. I'm telling you, don't believe anything that you hear or see in any media anywhere, because at this point we're living in a brave new world, and by brave new world I mean it is a real poop show of a world we're living in where anybody can create videos and audio content that looks and sounds like really important people making really stupid comments or really important people making really important comments. You know, I mean, if we were to suddenly see a video of mumbling, fumbling, bumbling Joe Biden saying that, we're going to launch nuclear missiles at Russia, what would you stop and think for a second? Wait, that may not be real. There may be something to that. On the subject of lack of civility in our society today, and I think of these recent cases of children getting shot or shot at, for daring to ring the doorbell on a house or daring to turn around in somebody's driveway, because they realized they were going down the wrong road, and people get shot for that kind of thing. Well, I saw this tweet, and this one is real. I can verify that it is real. But a Texas weatherman, a meteorologist in Texas, tweeted A child just rang my doorbell. Folks, you do not ring doorbells in 2023. My 6 was loaded. Keep your kids away. Signed, Chris. This is a meteorologist. His name is Chris Robbins. He's the founder of iWeatherNet, which covers weather events in Dallas, Fort Worth, and Atlanta, Georgia. And he posted that publicly on his Twitter page, to which somebody commented. A woman named Stephanie asks, so you're willing to shoot someone just because they rang your doorbell? Stand your ground is not meant for that. And the way you're nearly threatening anyone, specifically kids, is disgusting, and why some people shouldn't have guns. To which Chris, the meteorologist, writes back, I'm not effing around. But he didn't say effing. He used the actual word. Now, he went on to edit it multiple times, trying to weasel his way out of his comments. He later, with an edit, wrote, this is not 1972. If that brat rings my doorbell again tomorrow, I will call the police. Take notes. What is the matter with people? What in the world is the matter with people? I'm not effing around. I'm going to shoot a little girl. You know what the girl was doing? She was looking for her cat. Her cat got away. Now, should a little girl be ringing a doorbell at night alone? No. Threatening to shoot a little girl is terrible. Absolutely terrible. What a horrible person that would make a comment like that. It's heartbreaking. Talking about how our society has become so, we lack civility in our society today. 844-580-WDBO, 844-580-9326, or use the open mic in the WDBO app. We got a lot of open mics here.
Hey, Joe, it all starts with us is correct. That is the correct answer. Because us is teacher, clergy.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think I did play that one earlier. Okay.
You don't believe this country has a mental health crisis going on right now? Just shut the internet down for about 10 minutes. It'll be readily apparent.
Yeah, people would absolutely go nutty butters.
Joe, the reason people aren't civil anymore, it's easy. Social media. Everybody got so used to saying what they wanted to say, not having anybody in their face to defend themselves. That's what happened to society. Social media screwed us up. Like Mike Tyson said that time on the plane when somebody was behind him. Sometimes people just need to get punched in the face. I don't condone violence, but that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, and Tyson never faced charges for that, for what it's worth.
Joe, I love your show. Been a listener since you first came to Orlando. So glad you got 2 hours now. Just wanted to say thank you. Love your show so much. You little bastard.
Yeah, you knew that was going somewhere, right? You knew that open mic was going somewhere. I love it. Thank you. That was awesome. I do appreciate that.
Hey, Joe, you want to talk about civility? Just look at how people drive on the roads. All people care about is themselves. They don't look out for others, and they just want to be the first to everything. So society as a whole is going to pot, and you can see it everywhere. It isn't just how we treat each other in conversations and opinions. It's how we treat each other on the roads and in the stores and in lines and everywhere else.
And especially with the power of anonymity, like an open mic. An open mic is anonymous, so that you can leave a comment without any responsibility, any accountability. You don't have to give your name. You don't have to give your phone number. I firmly believe that if you're standing face to face with someone, most people are far less inclined to make rude or uncivilized comments or gestures. Though even that is changing, but a lot of that starts, I think of, with road rage. You don't see that person in the other car as a person. You just see a car that is not behaving in the manner that you think that car should be behaving, and the driver should be driving that car, and it triggers people, and people just absolutely go off. My name is Joe Kelley. You can join me at 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. Look for the Joe Kelley Show podcast. Anywhere you get your podcast, we've got original content there. And then, of course, we have this show there. If you missed any part of the show, you can check it out in the podcast at wherever you get your podcast. We did rebrand it. We changed the name of it. So look for the Joe Kelley Show podcast. You'll be able to find that anywhere you get your podcasts. Coming up at 7 o'clock, we'll have the third hour of the Sean Hannity Show, so stay with us.
Now, WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580. Triple Team Traffic.
Got a serious crash in Seminole County right now. It's 436 at West Lake Brantley Drive. Multiple lanes blocked in both directions. And a broken down vehicle, 417 southbound, right before John Young Parkway. It's stuck in the left lane. ProTech Air Conditioning and Plumbing Service for honesty, integrity, and 100% customer satisfaction. Call ProTech 407-291-1644 or visit ProTechAC.com. From the WDBO Triple Team Traffic Center, I'm Paul Cross.
A lockdown has been lifted in Midtown Atlanta, but police are still looking for a mass shooting suspect. One person was killed, 4 others injured in the shooting at an Atlanta medical center today. Police are searching for 24-year-old Dayton Patterson. Two. The Federal Reserve is raising rates by 1/4 percentage point. This is the 10th rate hike in a row. Recent numbers suggests inflation is cooling, but is still well above the Fed's 2% target. One. 4 first-time nominees are among the inductees into the 2023 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Sheryl Crow, Missy Elliott, George Michael, and Willie Nelson are joined by Kate Bush, Rage Against the Machine, and the Spinners in the performer category. The induction ceremony will be held on November 3rd in Brooklyn. Your mic is muted.
I must have missed a meeting or something because I swear you were in charge of muting and unmuting the mics. Did I misunderstand?
Nope. Because you're going to play bad open mics. And if you're playing bad open mics and I unmute your mic and somebody swears and we hurt our poor streamers'
No,
ears.
that can't happen because I have to turn my mic off to listen to open mics. I have to turn my actual microphone off to listen to open mics. So if my microphone is off, there's no way the stream is going to hear me or the open mics.
Okay. If you have to turn your mic off even to listen to whatever silly music you were just listening to?
I do because the mic mutes the cue speakers. The mic mutes everything.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well then I can try to remember to unmute your mic. I feel like it should be a 50-50 partnership here. You could look at it before you talk, but I'll try to remember too.
Paul, take out the garbage.
Yeah, I know. Take out the garbage. I know. My wife made an appearance.
I'm going to rewind this tape. I want to see
What's
that
great
over
is
and over again.
He couldn't even hear you say that, Joe. He just knew that's what you were saying. That's even better.
Oh, I hear him saying it.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I hear Joe.
That
Joe
was
doesn't
awesome.
hear me.
That's right. That's right.
What?
No,
I forgot
we're in
he
the middle
can't
of
hear
moving.
you. You
We're
can't
moving
hear
to
him.
a new house.
He's in the middle of moving.
Oh, I didn't know that. Is he?
Yeah, so my wife is going through and doing.
It's okay, Paul. I get handed garbage too and told to take out the garbage. We all get handed garbage. Of course, usually not while we're on the radio.
I know. Sorry.
Honey, I'm working.
She had to make sure that she could throw away all this stuff he's collected over the years. The station we worked at 3 years ago, we still have their promotional
their logos
posters
and stuff. Can I tell you, I have worked.
Handing me the
I can't even
trash.
count how many radio stations in my lifetime I've worked for. Let's just say 10. That's not anywhere near the number. I don't own any apparel, shirts, hats, nothing. I don't own anything with any logo on it besides the station I currently work for, WDBO. I get rid of all old logos. I don't keep them for nostalgia value.
In fact, didn't you like gave away some of them, right? So you're like, there's going to be some homeless person with my name on their, right? Did you say that once? Oh, I wasn't talking to him. Didn't you say you donated some of your shirts once? You're like, oh, now there's going to be a homeless person that has a Joe Kelley shirt on.
Yeah. Like at one point, satin jackets were a thing for radio hosts. I know Paul Cross has satin jackets, right? First of all, I don't own any satin jackets anymore, but there was a time in which I owned embroidered satin jackets with my name on it, and it was awesome. And
yep.
But I gave them all away.
It's the disco duck Rick Dees days
to
too.
Goodwill or whatever. And yeah, there's probably someone walking around right now with a Joe Kelley 93Q satin jacket. Here, I want to bring in everybody. Laurel and Paul Cross, I want to bring you into this conversation here. So, Laurel, I heard you just reported that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has announced, what is it, is it the nominees, or is it those who are going to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
First 4-time nominees are among the inductees.
Okay,
yes.
So these are the inductees. And one of the inductees you mentioned is Missy Elliott. Now, I happen to love Missy Elliott. I love Missy Elliott music. People always think that I'm joking when I say that I like hip hop and rap music, but I love hip hop and rap music. For what it's worth, I like a lot of different genres of music. I love classic jazz music. I love jazz standards music. I love Broadway show tunes. I mean, I have a very broad sense of music. I love music. And I love Missy Elliott, but it's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and this is Missy Elliott. Would you say this is her biggest hit? I haven't looked it up to see if this is her biggest hit.
I would say so, yeah.
Missy Elliott, one time exclusive. Come on, is it worth it? Let me work it. I put my thing down, flip it and reverse it. It's your primitive is why it's your primitive is why if you got a big, let me search it to find out how hard I gotta work. Yeah.
So is this Rock and Roll Hall of Fame worthy? Paul Cross, I mean, is this something that you would expect in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Boy, now you got me in a box here, because I really think the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, what they're trying to do is encompass all of music. You can go R&B, you can go all these things. Anybody who was an influence, anybody who changed the way music is. Rock and roll is such a generic term. Then you got Willie Nelson in this field as well. He's not rock and roll, but boy, what an incredible influence he had even over some rockers.
That's a good point.
So there's just a lot of different opinions here. I know that there are some rock and rollers that say, look, it's called the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and all that stuff. But really, I think it's not the Influence Hall of Fame. I do think, though, that music crosses genres. I think Missy Elliott was influenced by the Jackson 5, who was influenced by,
the Temptations.
Exactly. There's always somebody who's been influencing, and they take the music and they make it their own way. So if you have an influence over people in the future, I say, why not? That's just my opinion.
Very well thought out. I like your answer, Paul.
My traffic opinion.
I think I will adopt your opinion on that, and I think that sounds reasonable. I don't know. Have you ever been to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland?
No, I want to so badly.
I've been on a couple of occasions, and there is even a section in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for radio personalities. I mean, so radio hosts, more specifically DJs, get accepted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Alan Freed and people like that.
Alan Freed, I think, was the first one. Alan Freed was was the Rick Dees, was the I don't even know who else to compare him to. He was the
Howard
Dick
Stern
Clark.
of the day. He was just anybody who's a personality.
Alan Freed is the guy that literally coined the term rock and roll. So if anybody deserves to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, it's the guy that actually invented the word rock and roll. And that was
I don't know how many people around here would know Wolfman Jack, but I used to work with him in Southern California.
Yeah.
Where he's an icon too.
Yeah, he's dead now, right? Long since.
He's dead.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Paul Cross. Thanks, Laurel. Thank you, Randy. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for tuning in tonight and being a part of the Joe Kelley Show. Again, find the podcast. The third hour of Hannity is coming up next. Your next chance to win $1,000 in the payroll payout tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.
Now, WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580. Triple Team Traffic.
Still working that crash in Seminole County. It's 436 at West Lake Brantley Drive. Very busy area right now, and multiple lanes are blocked in both directions. Also have that stalled vehicle 417 southbound right before John Young Parkway. It's stuck in the left lane. This report sponsored by Dell Technologies. Dell Technologies provides growing businesses with the tools to do incredible things. For advice on smart PCs powered by Intel V Pro that's built for business, call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK Dell. From the WDBO Triple Team Traffic Center, I'm Paul Cross.
So, la 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 la. Okay, thanks you guys for watching tonight. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being a part of the comments. We really do appreciate it. Thanks for your patience. We're going to try to get better every day. In fact, we're even trying to use better gear. I mean, right now we're using webcams, but we're upgrading everything to better gear. It takes a little while to get everything situated. So, that's it. Anybody have any questions before we go? Oh man, I totally forgot. I need a third hour. Would you guys remind me tomorrow night that I've got to talk about the pizza delivery that I had last night? This is such a great story. Oh, I'm so upset with myself that I forgot to tell the story on the radio. I'm going to put it in my promo for tomorrow about then I'll have to do
That'll remind you.
So, but I had a great experience with my pizza delivery last night. It was a lot of fun. Okay, that's it. Love you guys. Be cool, be safe, be civil. Love your neighbors. Go meet your neighbors.